Twitter and use the hashtag Amanway to join in. And next, we ask one of Africa's most powerful presidents, Paul Kagame of Rwanda, how he handles dissent in his country. And we'll be looking at a provocative new documentary on women's struggle for equal rights here in America. Welcome back. Rwanda has been dragged up from the depths of its bloody nightmare to become one of Africa's major success stories, and that's in large part due to its president, Paul Kagame. 16 years ago, up to 1 million Rwandans were slaughtered in 100 days. It was one of the quickest genocides in modern history. And when the world refused to intervene, Paul Kagame led his Rwandan Patriotic Front to victory over the extremist forces who were carrying out the killings. And afterwards, he brought reconciliation and rebuilding to the country. And according to just about any indicator today, whether it's health, the environment, the economy, women's rights, Rwanda is the envy of its region. But it has come at a cost, say his opponents, who complain about an autocratic political system. We spoke about all of these issues when we sat down together here in the studio. President Kagame, thank you for joining us here.
Thank you.
Let me ask you about some important matters here. Let's talk about the business situation in Rwanda. In the last post-genocide era, Rwanda's business and economic potential has really grown. And now you've got the first country to become the top of the World Bank's annual list of ranking reformers. That is Rwanda in sub-Saharan Africa. How did that happen? What exactly does that mean?
Because we put the private sector and its development and doing business at the top of social and economic transformation, we tried to look at what is necessary to be done in terms of regulations, in terms of laws, and other ways we can make it easier for people to do business.
You talk about dependence. Many countries are dependent on foreign aid, but I hear you sort of giving it a negative connotation. Do you just want Rwanda not to be dependent?
There are cases that need aid. Rwanda has needed aid, it has received aid. What we are saying is, what do we need aid for? What we need aid for is to deal with the problems that are current, that we have, but it is also to build a foundation which we should be able to build on ourselves and stop needing aid. It's a process. If you look at in the last 5 decades or so, Africa, my own country, has received a lot of aid. But in many cases, you don't see anything for it, that it has left behind. So therefore, it raises questions. Is there another way of building on aid so that you stop needing aid in the future?
In many of the social and economic indicators, Rwanda is ahead of many of the countries in your region, including in terms of women's political involvement and empowerment. And in fact, Rwanda's is the only parliamentary house in the world where women hold the majority. Is that by dictate or is that elected? And what decision-making differences does it make to have women in the majority of parliament?
It is a combination of factors. One, the government made sure that, one, we recognize this as a factor of development. It's one thing we need to be aware of, that in our case, 53% of our population are women. You can't just shut them out of economic development and think that is very wise. So the more we bring them in, the better off we are. The second is an issue of rights. I think, why shouldn't women enjoy same rights to education, to doing business, to decision making like anybody else? So this is our decision and it's our choice.
You talk about rights, and obviously there are political rights that we need to talk about. Right. And there are many, many people now who, on the one hand, admire what you've done to bring Rwanda out of its post-genocide disaster and its nightmare, and on the other hand, are very critical about your, what they call increasing authoritarianism, the shrinking space for any kind of political opposition, and that this is becoming more and more of an issue.
What I say to that, there are things that don't add up here. We have, what you say, elections. We have Rwandans, the 11 million people, going out there and deciding for themselves who their leaders are going to be, right from the president to members of parliament to mayors to different leaders. Now, the second is you cannot at the same time have this progress we are making, whether it is in education, in agriculture, in health, in investment, in everything. This cannot be done just by one man dictating that it happens. It involves the population.
Can you say it's up to the Rwandan people? Here we have the Green Party leader, Frank Habineza, who used to be a member of the ruling Rwandan Patriotic Front. Now he's talking about death threats. He's talking about harassment. He's talking about a newspaper that had a headline said Frank Habineza to be killed in 60 days. He also has said, I am scared, but I still believe a government should protect its citizens. I'm not a criminal, I just have different ideas.
But Christiane, you will have individuals saying anything they want to say depending on what or where they stand on issues. But you don't have to believe everyone who says whatever they want to say. You have to go further than that and investigate and find out whether this person is even saying the truth.
But I guess the question I still am trying to probe is whether there can be space for political opposition in President Paul Kagame's Rwanda.
Oh yes,
and
that's
so
why
far it seems that it's very tough. Let's take Victoire Ingabire.
Before we leave that, that's why the Green Party is there. That's why this person you're talking about is there saying what they are saying. Now, if this person says the government wants to do this, why hasn't the government done that if that's what it wants to do?
But he's saying that he's being prevented.
But he's there. He's there.
So will he be able to contest the elections?
Absolutely.
In safety and security?
Yes, but as I told you, all of us play by certain rules. There are issues of accountability for all of us, even for me, the president. For any individual, for a citizen, there are issues of accountability. That's why there is a law. So if he follows what the measures of accountability are requesting, why not? Absolutely.
But I guess what people are saying is that the goalpost keeps shifting, that the level playing field doesn't exist. Well, let's take Victoire Ingabire. Yes. Now, she's the president of the FDU in Giri, and she says she's faced a very intense public campaign of vilification. Basically, you have openly warned her that she could face prosecution under Rwanda's genocide ideology laws.
No, but you see...
And people are saying that you use those to quash political opposition.
I don't think it's just an insult to us or to the nation. So let me talk about Ingabire. Ingabire came to Rwanda. He was not in Rwanda even during the genocide. He's been away from Rwanda for 17 years. He arrives, he comes, first of all, he asks for a travel document, a passport. The government gave him a passport. She comes to Rwanda, she wants to contest. The very day she arrived, she starts talking about double genocide. She starts saying, oh, this genocide of, the Tutsis, but there was also a genocide of Hutus, and almost the same language, the old language of incitement. This is on record. It's not something I'm creating. Now, of course, if you incite, if you are denying genocide, if you are trying to create...
Is that what you're saying she's doing?
That's what she's doing. And I'm saying those who defend him, or defend her, this woman of the other party, may find one day they've been defending a wrong person.
Let me get to the issue of leadership again, and this is about Congo. Africa's world war, millions of people have been killed there, mostly out of sight. And many say that Paul Kagame's troops bear a lot of the responsibility, that you sent the troops into there to keep back the Hutus and the extremists, and more than 5 million have been killed.
Do you know the history of Congo?
Yes.
The problems of Congo are more than 60 years old.
That's true. That's true.
Let's not...
But this started in 1998.
No, the problem started before I was born. We had Leopold...
I understand
the story
all of
you
that,
had,
and all of the colonialism.
So why do people keep all that quiet, lock it up, and then start saying the problems of Congo, it is the Kagame, it's the troops,
But just
And let's talk about also how those who committed genocide in Rwanda went and lived in the Congo, how they benefited from the international community that were feeding them, spending $1 million every day, feeding murderers, feeding people who would want to come back and kill people in Rwanda, and people want to keep quiet and say, oh, Kagame sent troops, as if there is no context for that. It doesn't make sense.
So when
this is the issue I have with
when will those troops, I mean, clearly you have a reason for doing it. Some people say that it's a reason, also an economic reason, that you have a good, hold on an area which is very rich in minerals, which is very beneficial to Rwanda.
But you see, first of all, where the Congo is. I cannot be blamed for the problems of Congo or any other country. There are people, the Congolese, who have their own country, who are supposed to manage it, who are supposed to govern it. It has nothing to do with me.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us. It was nice to have you.
Thank you.